Now, as you clearly see from the title of the video, obviously we're going to be talking about the whole UK censorship thing, but we're going to honestly extend that because at this point, it's really not just, an attack on, anime or games or fiction and just things of the sort like that of entertainment. It's just the attack on people. It is the attack on regular, everyday people that just literally wants to go home, see some quiet, wild and things, and just be about their business, not necessarily be trying to bother anybody in any shape or form. But the government basically is like, haha, you's a bitch and we won't let you have that. And that's essentially what kind of situation that we're in here. And it's not just for people of just a certain country, it's worldwide. At this point, this is a global effing issue that we should deadass take seriously. And just to keep it very much a stack, even if it's not in any realm of anything that you care about, it's definitely going to hit you in the face, and it's going to be just really clearly right there beating your ass, and your face is going to be more colored and absolutely just more pronounced when it comes down to the beatdown than anything you have ever seen before. Because I gotta tell you, the amount of people that would think the government would actually regulate this stuff in a more natural and honest way, it is gotta be a straight up buffoon. Like, I gotta be real, a racist at a Cracker Barrel that is just there every day, just straight up hating on anybody and everything, will be more clear and honest about their feelings towards a certain group of people, versus the government will actually be real and serious and honest towards you about literally anything. And this is one of those reasons, man, why I hate having a small channel, because at this point I would very much love to, include a lot of people to kind of come through to yap about this as well, because stuff like this is a huge issue. Again, not just for one person or a group of people, but for literally everyone. So if you'd like to help out with that, please subscribe to this channel. And if you'd just like to help me financially, please help out with the Kofi in the comments and the description below. But when it comes down to a lot of this stuff, I believe we are at a turning point when it comes to the internet, whether or not we're gonna stay, basically the way we are, or essentially we're gonna get cooked into existence by our local governments and things sort of like that, and be watched for more than really ever before with everything that we basically do. And it's just not a good time. It's not a good victory for anybody. And just off rip too, to kind of mention this as well, it doesn't matter what political party that you're in, whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican or you left or right wing or whatever, which I never really seen those phrases until 2020 started, which is some nonsense. But when it comes down to it though, this doesn't matter between what party you're in. This is a everybody issue, right? So put your over patriotic having ass aside for 5 seconds and literally smell the roses, touch grass, and see what actually is happening here. Because the way this type of thing is going to be implemented is just straight up going to have its favorite picks of favoritism, and then things that absolutely is just going to be banned because that's just the sort of thing that people are going to just go against. I fully expect a lot of Japanese material, if we're going to go back to the realm of fiction and really anime and games, because that's where it kind of started from. If we really were to look at things like that, those shits would be banned. Those shits would be banned without any sort of question, without any sort of hesitation. But you know what things would probably not be so harder to be banned? We probably like books or something like that. Probably certain levels of entertainment, right? Because I remember I was watching Dr. Disaster also talk about it too, and how he was like, oh yeah, things like games and anime and whatever might get banned hard as hell, but maybe something like the Game of Thrones series, would that also get banned, and all that sort of stuff, like which very much shows, like, obviously violence against women in there. There is obviously very messed up themes that happens within that series. I've never watched it, but I know about certain stuff. But when it comes down to it though, would that also get hit with a ban? Because you already know, when again people try to regulate certain things and people of power really try to go into it, they have their picks and chooses of, okay, this gets banned, but oh, we make 5 million excuses for why this will not get banned, or why we'll just be limiting some stuff but not everything of certain things. Like, you got to remember, this is, at least in America, this is the same government that will not release the bum ass files in the list of a certain island man because they just being too damn weird about it, because they're just being too damn petty about it. Is everybody just in on that sort of thing? Is everybody on the damn list? Like, what is it's just so frustrating, right? It genuinely is. And there is so many more ways of how this situation could be handled instead of just, you know, basically sending everyone and everything to the shadow realm, which is like, I don't know, maybe start arresting parents that literally does not take care of their kid and let the iPad do all the work. That literally, that's what you could do, right? But they just choose not to. Let's just ban everything. Let's just ban everybody, because why the hell not? We can absolutely do that. And the UK has seceded in that area. They have done so, which, granted, for my UK people, if anybody from the UK is watching this video, I don't know why the hell y'all didn't fight back on the memes shit. Maybe you did and I just don't remember, but I don't see why y'all fought back, you know, when they started to ban memes and everything like that. Because you mean to tell me an old ass official in the highest level of government is pissed off at memes because they called him fat? Or whatever the case might be, or whatever, right? At the end of the day, if you can't handle effing words, dude, if you can't handle people making memes about you, or words, or saying a lot of stuff, that is a absolute skill issue, and that's a tough shit sort of situation. Because at the end of the day, guess what? People are going to say some wild and shit about you. They're going to say a lot of crazy ass things. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like, if you can't really handle that, you shouldn't be in any sort of public face of power or in any sort of situation like that, because you're gonna get hit with that regardless. People are going to do so all the damn time. I've been done so quite a few times, and you know what? That's not gonna stop me from making content and do what I gotta do, because at the end of the day, that's just how it is. You ain't born into this world to be liked by literally everyone. You are going to get cooked and chopped like everybody else. And so what? You ban people from making jokes because weird ass reasons, or some type of bullying, or whatever the hell the case might be. People will very much use the notion of, hey, let's protect the children, while also trying to screw over literally everyone else, because that's like because I feel like it's also like a moral thing too. Really think about it. Who would realistically want to stop a law or stop some type of bill that would have, hey, protecting the children sort of lingo or talk in that bill or whatever when it comes down to it? No one realistically would. But within our timeline of things, and just how crazy and cracked out sometimes the government absolutely is, more times than not, but sometimes absolutely is, just to keep it very much that, like I said before, regulating that shit is never really something that they ever really will do right. They just will not, right? Because at the end of the day, no one is really against if you want to, you know, protect children or keep them from safe place and keep them in safe places and stuff like that. That's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, we know how you is. You like to sneak weird shit into your laws and all that sort of stuff. You like to put in weird ass things that and act like no one's going to notice, because especially nowadays, everybody notices everything. You can't do shit in secret no more, because at the end of the day, we see you, bitch. We ain't blind. That's just not how that works anymore. People have gotten a lot more, you know, advanced in their knowledge. Still, people are dumb, but you know, we have gotten a lot more smarter to call shit out and really phone that shit in until something changes, or we just make you really make everybody really understand that you just not really as good as you say you are. And to any kids that might sit here and just straight up, you know, be thinking that, oh yeah, these acts are such a good thing, let me tell you something. First of all, you ain't gonna be a kid forever. You're gonna be an adult, and when you're an adult, shit's gonna slap you in the face way harder than you possibly imagined, and then you're gonna be thinking back like, good gosh, why did we pass this bill? Why was we supporting of certain things? Because you don't know better. And I don't blame you for the most part. For the most part, I do blame some of y'all, because some of y'all do know what the hell is going on. Y'all absolutely are just straight up goobers when it comes down to it. But when it comes down to it though, a lot of people, when it comes to children, and children specifically when it comes down to certain issues like this, they're ignorant. They don't know what the hell's going on. They just saying shit just to say shit. That's literally mostly how children are. No matter how, honestly, I think no matter how the years pass, how many years go by, children will always never know the full picture of everything, and then they'll just choose the wrong picture or choose the wrong path and choose the wrong image or however the hell, and they'll just never really know. And then adults will be like, yeah, this is a good idea, that's an excellent idea, we like discussions like this, only when it suits your needs, only when it suits you. That's literally what they want from y'all. If I'm gonna be honest, that's literally what they want you to, to be like, to kind of just agree with them or whatever, and then just be like, yeah, see, children want this, they want to feel safe, when realistically that's just not the case. And then another thing to add to a lot of this too is that even though I get, again, the sentiment of wanting, maybe kids not to go into certain spaces, companies could go out their way to literally put in whatever, I guess, like, security measure they could to kind of just make sure that shit's not happening, like it's preventable and stuff like that. They can very much do that when it comes down to, sites like a Twitter or whatever, and then raise the age ranges and then kind of call it a day. Why do we have to go over the extra mile for that? I don't really know, because it's weird. Because let's just be real, this is, again, adults trying to control other adults for whatever weird reason. I couldn't tell you why. I don't know why the payment processors, MasterCards and Visa, try to absolutely go ahead and with the way they want to do things like this. I don't know why they even care in the first damn place why this is the case. But when it comes down to it, though, it just like they have basically all the tools in the world to do what they want to do, and then they just go about this and they try to do this in this sort of way of banning things or trying to censor things. I don't really get it. The realistic thing about a lot of this stuff too, when it comes to children too, is just the fact that they're going to grow up at some point in time. They're going to have to learn about how cruel and effed up the real world actually is at some point in time, and that's just kind of how it is, right? It sometimes it can be messed up ways of how to get about that, and sometimes it's just be like, dang, well, that's rough, but oh well, sort of situations when it comes down to it, right? That's just how it is. It's really, in truth, there is really no good way of how do you introduce somebody that is in adolescence to adulthood into how the world actually works, because it's just at the end of the day, it's just a learning experience. That is what it is. If you want the actual and honest truth of how everything really is, you have to learn. There in life, in general, in life, without everything else added to it, there really is no right or wrong way of how you live your life, right? And that's what the government is basically wanting to do with a lot of this ruling, is essentially try to show these kids, or try to get these kids to follow some type of right path that they are very much trying to lead these people onto, when in reality you can do whatever the hell you want to, right? As long as you're not trying to break the law or anything like that. And even then, that's still you can do whatever the hell you want to, but there's just consequences that follow after. But still, there is no right or wrong path of where you want to go or how you're going to do certain things. At the end of the day, it just is what it is. You choose what you want to do, and that's ultimately how it is, and that's it. The path ahead of your life, or whether you're a child, whether you're a teen, or whether you're an adult or whatever, it should not be, dictated by other people. It should be something that you should figure out yourself, right? And figure out what you need to do for you, what's best for you, basically. And ultimately, what a lot of these credit card companies want to do, and a lot of these governmental people want to do, and a lot of these activist groups want to do, is basically control exactly where you go and all that sort of stuff. Even though you have to also realize that even if everything went their way, it's never going to give them the satisfying result of what they actually want. And there's always going to be somebody that will rebel against this shit constantly. You think Americans, you really think normal, natural United States people is going to sit here and just absolutely get cooked in this sort of area and let this shit sort of happen? Absolutely not. Like they're trying to, like they last month, or at least back in May, they tried to do the same damn thing, reintroduce some type of bill that's basically like the UK bill. And essentially, you really think a lot of people, a lot of average American people are gonna sit by and let that shit go down? Hell no, there ain't no damn way. Do you not know how Americans actually are? It's like Ed Wunslow said in the Boondocks, bro. We don't quit because we're wrong. We keep doing the wrong thing until it turns out right. That is literally our whole notion when it comes down to it, right? So in your eyes, censorship and all that stuff is the right thing. But for us, it's the wrong thing, and we're gonna keep continuing to beat the shit out of you with the wrong thing until you flip it over to back our side. That's literally how it is though. Hell, you don't even need to look at an American side for things. Look at the UK right now. Right now, with that bill passed, guess what they're doing? They're making petitions. They're basically letting their whole ass, like, you know, feelings about the situation be heard and be known on social media. They're using VPNs to access other things that the bill really effed them over on when it comes down to it. And now these other people in government are trying to figure out how to screw over VPNs now, because that's obviously the next thing they're going to go for. But when it comes down to it though, they are showing you that they don't want this shit. A mass majority of people do not want this shit. They want to retaliate against this in whatever way possible, calling up Visa and MasterCard by, you know, actually telling them, hey, we don't really care for this. You know, it's really stupid that this is happening. Literally reverse this stuff and just be about their way, right? They're literally going about this in whatever way they possibly can to voice their displeasure about it, because yes, again, controlling people, especially in ways like this, especially when it comes down to, you know, trying to hide behind a let's protect children sort of front, this does nothing for literally anybody outside of take away rights and take away, you know, just what people can actually realistically just do. That's really what this shit comes down to really beat it more home. That's why you have things like a fictional side of things where you come down to these companies with these, you know, predatory practices of delisting, you know, certain things from your library and stuff like that, like, you know, stop killing games or whatever. However that whole movement in motion of what they're trying to do, how that kind of goes, that's why something like that exists. That's why you have people in the states calling their state representatives over this censorship stuff and things like that. Again, the whole MasterCard calling them and all that stuff with Visa and all that stuff, right? Calling out certain individuals that has caused a lot of this stuff to continue to happen. People like myself who has been making videos and calling these people out for years when it comes down to any level of censorship. Which is honestly, my ass was thinking, oh, this is just a Sony thing, and that's just how it is. But this shit's beyond Sony. This shit has been working in the background for a longer period of time than I could possibly have imagined at this point. So again, when people are challenged and you try to bully the shit out of people into one way, people will retaliate. They will do whatever the hell they want to do when it comes down to, you know, voicing out against whatever the hell is in their path, because at the end of the day, no one wants this. No one should want this. Even a big top level person that has a shit ton of money or whatever should not want something like this, because ultimately what you're doing is silencing the regular average person. And if that happens, we're all screwed and we're all cooked in every which way possible, which just isn't good. Like, we need people to go against certain things. We need people to say certain things, whether you like it or not. And at the end of the day, that's the point. We're supposed to have opinions. We're supposed to speak to each other in, you know, ways that we need to when it comes down to challenging certain things. Because if no one ever really does, that's just a GG's and we're cooked situation. Also, to kind of just add something to the mix of this conversation as well, you also have these people that are just very much trying to pass a lot of this censorship stuff, right? You do realize a lot of these people are also just very much not good people at the end of the day, right? Like something like Collective Shout, who has very much defended things like the movie Cuties, for example, going out the way to, you know, just be anti-LGBT when it comes down to certain things as well. Like, they have done some shit too when it comes down to it. They ain't just banning stuff because, oh, women should respect themselves and bodies and all that sort of stuff. They hate women. They hate other women too, if we're gonna be honest. Let's just be real. Same thing with, you know, the government and anything they have literally done. Just insert US government anything, or just local government anything, and I promise you can find some weird shit that they have done, or maybe something that is a bit of a controversy or a conspiracy, and which probably is right, and essentially you could put it here and then you could just add whatever the hell you want to add into it, right? Obviously a bigger thing will be, you know, the whole ass Island Man files, which there is no reason why for them to kind of just not release those files or anything as a whole. People in those higher up powers definitely be saying, oh man, like I saw them files, I saw that list, and oh boy, I'm never the same after looking at that. Or, oh man, we gave those files to some influencers, and oh boy, I can't wait to throw those files out. To, oh, those files never existed, or whatever the hell. Do you see the bullshit? Do you not see the wild and zesty ass bullshit that these people will pull? Like, again, this is one of those reasons why, to get a little bit more serious, honestly, why I don't have faith in the current administration. If I'm being honest, they haven't done anything for the people. They don't release the files. The cost of living is still high as balls. Literally, so much other stuff could be done to prevent other bad things from happening, and it just feels like shit is just getting worse and worse and worse, and there's not really much of a play at all to kind of just make things just even the slightest bit better for regular average people. Like, the slightest bit better for average everyday normal people, no matter where you live. And essentially it's just GG's, you're cooked. It's just every single which way. You don't get shit, but get shitted on. And I guess I'll wrap everything up with just going back to the topic of fiction, and just, you know, why fiction is important to have certain topics and, you know, dark things about it to really exist within these sort of spaces. It's because they remind people that, you know, terrible things do happen, talk about certain discussions that cannot be talked openly, and if people really try to take those certain stories away, it just devalues just really everything. If we're gonna be honest, anything that you can create, it'll just be absolutely devalued. Even in stuff like non-fiction, or in even things like religious texts, the last thing I want to see is something like the Bible or something getting censored because, oh, Jesus got whipped or something like that. We can't have that to happen. We can't tell children about that. No, that's people's face. That's people's lives that you're messing with when it comes down to it. You can't do stuff like that. And sure, maybe the Bible has been changed over years and years and whatever, but still the stuff has been somewhat the same for the most part. It's just like, come on now, that's something that you just don't sit here and change, right? Terrible things have happened, not just in that, but just in general in life as well, right? What next? We're gonna just write away that certain parts of US history never really happened? But on the fictional side of things though, when it comes down to these darker stories or these storytelling moments that happens with twists and turns, hell, some of those things are things that are inspiring people. They can inspire people to maybe stop doing crazy amounts of drugs, or maybe get into working out because of a bad experience or a bad past or something like that, or whatever. Do you not know how much weight certain like elements of stories would lose if things like that were to get censored, right? Like, let's say something as simple as like a Dragon Ball Z, right? When it comes down to it, you could easily have like violence in that show completely taken away, or they try to censor it in some shape or form because, oh wow, you know, Gohan is, you know, beating Cell's ass. We can't have that to be shown out here, which could be someone's whole, like, you know, that confidence that Gohan had at the time. That could be someone's confidence to actually go hit the damn gym. Or like, be confident, be bold, and step out. Or something like, you know, Zombieland Saga, which, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, I never watched it, but there was like a whole character that was afraid to be themselves at one point in time. I can't remember what the context was, but they was afraid to be themselves, and they told like a friend, and then they helped them out with that. Like, you're also basically gonna say maybe something like that should be censored at the end of the day because it's something that you don't really like, or it doesn't follow your values. It may not follow your values, but it's still people's choices at the end of the day whether they want to go down that path or not. And at the end of the day, stuff like that shouldn't be censored and taken away in a fictional sort of story, right? That's just how it is. Or even something, and I said this before, and I say it many times, where something like in, you know, many stories when it comes down to a woman, and you know, they might get forced clapped and all that sort of stuff, and implied in all that sort of ways and everything like that. That shit happens. Shit like that happens on women's side. That happens on men's side too, right? You don't hear about it on men's side a lot, but it does happen when it comes down to men. But when it comes down to it though, literally, you know, things like that happen. You have people write stories, put stories out there when it comes down to characters like that. And like I said before, it could be for a coping mechanism, could be just because they want to really relay how serious certain things is and how they can progress that character story while also relaying that seriousness to it, or just use it for whatever reason they're going to use it for, right? Because ultimately you can use it for, you know, fetish and fantasy sort of stuff, and that just kind of is what it is. Again, it's not like they're trying to tell you, yes, go out, find your local woman and just do stuff. That is not what a lot of these stories is trying to tell people. And at the end of the day, if you take away basically all this sort of stuff in a fictional sort of standpoint, it's like, how do people actually operate? How do you get them to talk about certain things like this? People are super hella hard for like therapy and things like that, and try to better oneself and progressivism and stuff like that. But how do you actually progress if they literally force you to not be able to? How do you do that, right? And again, like I said with FS16 in the one channel that was like, yo, we can't talk about this, we shouldn't, you know, bring this up in any sort of way or whatever. Like, you can very much feel that way, and you can very much, you know, not like the idea that that's the case, but it should be there. It shouldn't be censored or taken away or anything like that, because ultimately it's something that does happen. It's something that is unfortunate, but it does happen, and it does need to be, you know, actually talked about. Because if you do not talk about certain situations that are dark, that are messed up, that, you know, are very much, I guess, like something that should be like displayed at times just for people to understand things better, it's like, when do you get the chance to talk about that? When can you talk about that? When do you be able to have the chance to bring it up to anybody? And realistically, with how the government and how everybody kind of is, you never can. You never can. If you get forced, women, if you get forced into a situation where someone's forcibly taking your cheeks, at the end of the day, they want you to be silent. They want you to shut the hell up. They want you to just obey the person that was taking your cheeks for the force. And that's just how it is, right? And is that something that you should really be happy with? Absolutely not. Not in the slightest. Not even for a damn picosecond or whatever the hell the damn thing is called, a plank time. You shouldn't be accepting for that for a plank time. And then this starts devolving down into a situation where it's not just controlling what people make or, you know, create, it's also controlling how people feel, how people interact with certain things and stuff like that too, right? At that point, that's how it is. Again, they will very much use the tactic of, hey, let's hide behind children and protect them and all that sort of stuff, while also equally themselves using children for whatever nefarious deeds that are going to use them for, whether it's, you know, manipulation or actually physically trying to use them in some shape and form. And then at the ultimate really finale of the whole damn thing, you know, they're gonna just try to, you know, act like everything is fine, that this is okay, that it's whatever, it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, it absolutely do. It's why people don't let go of the damn Island Man's files in the listing. It's why people want to see who's on the files and absolutely take them to justice and, you know, put them in jail. It's the reason why people are super mad about this censorship position when it comes down to it. and how people are retaliating against it. It's why for years people have been doing so, even though people that never really took it seriously when it comes down to things like an uglification of a female character, or Japan getting hit with a gang of censorship stuff, or anytime gooner quote unquote stuff happens to be censored or taken down, people fought against that as well. Because at the end of the day, we knew what this shit was coming to. And if again you worried about kids learning about this stuff way too early, yes, there is a lot of instances where they do learn this stuff early, but at the same time, they're gonna learn that stuff when they learn that stuff. There is no if, ands, or buts. The one thing that a lot of these people really, with all the control, all their power and all that stuff, all the things they really want to control, they can't control life. They can't control timing. They can't control any of that shit, because at the end of the day, its timing is unbeatable. Like life itself is unbeatable when it comes to actual control, because you'll find out when you find out stuff. You'll find out when you need to, right? And when the time is right for things in just stuff in general. Because at the end of the day, there's no easy way into knowing a lot of crazy, dark, weird shit that happens in life. And you're just gonna stumble upon it by happenstance and whatever. And that's just how it is, right? There's things we can do to avoid certain stuff, and very much, yes, there is things that can protect children, but also at the same time, there should be also equal responsibility on the adults making these sort of rules and adults having children to kind of actually be active in these children's lives, to actually do things with them and try to actually better them as people, so we can have another generation of people that's not a whole bunch of dumbasses. But that's just how it is. So in short, ultimately, a lot of the censorship stuff, when it comes down to the UK, to Japan, and how Visa and MasterCard are screwing them over, how they want to do it over in the States as well, how it's already been happening in the States with certain southern places, especially with the hub being banned and like censored and all that sort of stuff too. At the end of the dang day, this shit can't fly. This shit definitely should not fly. If you are somebody that's very much not effing with censorship or effing with it at all, don't look at each other, different people, like, oh, you're from a different country or a different party or whatever. Band with them, join with them, so you don't necessarily get hoed by credit card companies, activist groups, the government itself, because that's essentially what they want you to do. They want you to infight right now more than ever, to act like animals, and at the end of the day, so they can have their damn laugh while we're drinking piss. That is literally what they want us to do, but we shouldn't have to feel that way. If anything, Japan and its governments, strangely enough, and the people that obviously don't want the censorship, and the people in the UK that's very much not effing with the censorship either, and a lot of other people that come through, we gotta band together to basically tell everybody, like, hey yo, chill with that shit and call it a damn day. Because at the end of the day, there is no way this should be the case for whatever the hell is happening. This shouldn't be the case that this is just how it is. And ultimately, the more this type of stuff happens and nobody does anything, we're just letting go more of our freedom and more of our rights every single day. And that shouldn't be the case. But yeah, I guess I think that's everything I wanted to say, really, more so, because it's just, again, so the fact that it got to this point, the fact that we are at this point and it could possibly get worse, and the fact that literally there is not much we can really do outside of call this shit out and just pray and hope that this doesn't go through and just continue to be the way. It's annoying. It's annoying as hell. It's annoying when you have people in power that absolutely should not stand for things like this, and yet they do, because crackhead energy, I guess. I don't really know. Like I said, you'll find a more honest, racist, and evil individual at a Cracker Barrel than the government be honest about you and how they feel and everything. So that's just how it is. But again, that's all I really wanted to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also on my socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's my boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.